So as you take your seat this morning, simply sitting, aware with the whole body, aware of the body, aware in the body, and aware with the body breathing. And receiving the waves of sensation moment by moment. In the midst of whatever it is that's happening for you this morning, in this life, in the midst of all of it, sitting like a mountain. And the breathing mountain. And just receiving the texture of sensation as it appears here and now. Of course, always changing, always new and fresh in each moment. And just as all experience is new and fresh in each moment. And of course, your basic natural awareness is here all the time. Although you forget about it and don't notice it or don't think to attend to it. And because it's here all the time, there's nothing you need to do to create it or construct it. Everything that is ever happening for you is always appearing within it. So on a very basic level, you can just rest here with the inhabiting being, or kind of relaxing into being itself. And just let the objects of experience, which includes whatever is arising in the mind and the body, in the environment through the senses, letting all of this, for now, arise and pass, come and go, move and change on its own. And as it will. The breathing body is here as an anchor or a home base for your attention, a domain to cultivate and return to some stability in being here. Until we begin to inhabit awareness itself and recognize it as this foundational aspect of experience, the breathing is a very helpful support. And actually, even after kind of inhabiting awareness more fully, the breathing is still a useful support. When the conditions are extra challenging or the mind is, the conditions in the mind are stirred up for whatever reason. So you can trust yourself to move from a more exclusive attention with the breathing to breathing with the changing field of objects, to times letting go of the breathing as an anchor and just resting in being and presence and awareness itself. And then sometimes finding the breath again when you just need to rest or regroup. Whenever you check, you'll see that awareness is here, which means you are here. We could say you are here, and so awareness is here. and they're the same. And can you notice that what's happening, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, whether it's what you want to be happening or not, in your mind, in your body, just in this moment, is appearing to you? And although these appearances change from moment to moment, they come and go, there's something here throughout, knowing it. You could say you are here, knowing it. And yet everything you call me or mine is also part of this field of change, your body, your mind, your feelings, your thoughts. So what are you? And without just thinking about this only, just being as you are, aware of the flow of experience. This is enough. Even just to be aware with this simple in-breath, this simple out-breath is enough. Well, hello, everyone. Nice to practice with you. Yesterday, anyway, we've been having internet issues as you've experienced over this week, and yesterday my computer froze, but only at the end of the meditation. So hopefully you were able to. Maybe you didn't notice, and you just practiced right on through until it was 10 o'clock in the morning, and then you realized. But I just want to say a few things this morning. As I've mentioned, and these morning meditations online, the Zoom ones, will end at the end of August. And what I want to encourage all of you to do, and of course I will be, as I said, I want to do some other kinds of offerings to support your deepening and further practice. But for those of you who don't yet feel that you can support your practice on its own, I want to encourage you to really be thinking about that and kind of planning for it as you over these next weeks, so that maybe even some mornings you wake up right at the same time and you don't turn on the Zoom and you practice yourself from 7 to 7:30, because it can become both a habit and just kind of a fundamental part of what you do. The reason I've been leading these morning sessions, as I've said, is that it's all of the fruits of this stuff, mindfulness, meditation, comes out of your own practice. It's not, nobody can give that to you. You can hear an infinite number of teachings and read a million books, but it's your own exploration that kind of gives rise to the benefits and also the fruits and the discovery. It's your discovery. So I want to encourage you to to find a way to make this regular and to not have it, and to really reflect on that, so that it's not dependent on somebody else, not dependent on me, not dependent on some online offering. Then you can still make use of the online offerings. And as I said, I'll do a foundations/fundamental/basics group for a few months, because I want to kind of unpack some of those core teachings. But and there are so many other things offered online, but really to have your own practice, your own daily practice, you wake up, that doesn't depend on any of the outer conditions. That is a powerful thing in itself. For you to sit with whatever arises in your own mind and body, apply the instructions as you understand them. That's powerful. So I'm happy, of course, to sit with you over these next weeks. But I want to also encourage you to really be thinking about, what will it take for me to practice on my own every day? Yeah. And to have it just be just what I do. This becomes, well, it's just what I do. There's so many things that you do daily just because that's what you do daily. It's part of you now. You are the equipment for this exploration, and you're the territory itself. So you have what you need, and hopefully by now you understand how to practice. You know the instructions, which are very simple, very simple, not always easy to apply, but very simple. And then you have this with you always. And of course, you already always have awareness with you, as much as you may be in the habit of not noticing or forgetting. So I think that's all I'll say this morning. I don't think I'll have any more issues with the screen freezing. I've addressed that, I think. And I'm going to just, there were a few questions and things that yesterday that I noticed had popped up, but then I didn't get to them because I couldn't see them. So I'm going to look now and just see if there's, if you do have any questions. I'm just going to hang out here for a few minutes. You can put them in the Q&A section, and I'll just respond to just a few if you have any about whatever it is. All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, so there's a question about walking meditation, and I'm not going to give the full instructions now. You can, I'm sure, find the instructions in any of my dad's books, or but the simple version is that when walking, one is aware in walking, right? And you can do formal walking meditation where you walk back and forth in a, just a few paces. You could do it in your house or apartment. You can do it outside, where you just walk back and forth mindfully. And the idea is you attend to the movement in the body in the same way you attend to the breathing. And of course, all the same territory is present. So it's very powerful. It'd be powerful for any of you in your daily practice to sit for a while and then get up and do walking meditation for 10 minutes, for half an hour, and then to go sit again. That's a very powerful momentum if you want to start doing a kind of retreat-like practice in your day. Who says you only have to sit for practice for a half an hour in the morning? People who really practice things say, you can do more than that. So, of course, when you're walking around, you can just be present in the body, aware with seeing and noticing what the mind is doing. But that formal walking practice is very powerful, right? So you could put just most of your attention in the feet and the legs. Just feel the lifting, the moving, and the placing of the foot. Lifting, moving, and the placing of the foot. When you get caught up in thinking, you can just stop and observe it. You can come back to the body, taking another step. When you get a big emotion, you can stop and just be with it, breathe with it, observe it, watch what the mind is doing. You can have just as much insight in the walking meditation as you do in the sitting meditation. So that's a short version, and it reminds me that I should write up some walking instructions and put them on the website where we have the sitting instructions, and I'll do that. Yeah, when will I be able to talk more about the new offerings? It's going to start in mid-October, and I don't know the time yet or the day. I'm still working on that, but I should know by the end of this week, and I'll announce that. So it'll be probably a 2-hour long, almost like a class, but a group, and it'll probably meet for a couple months. So I will, and that'll be in addition to the Sunday, not a replacement of it. So I'll let you know soon, and that will all go out as an email, and of course I'll announce it Sunday too, and I'll put it on the website as well. Let's see. What about the lineage of the student in practice with a teacher? I'm not sure exactly what is meant by that, but the lineage of the student, all of these practices have lineage, and I of course have practiced in a couple of different lineages, and there's and the flavor of what I'm teaching is affected by that. But most of this originates in the kind of essence of it. Is I would say, in my opinion, although some may disagree, in my opinion, is in line with sort of the early Buddhist teachings. Even though, as you all know, mindfulness is not Buddhist per se, and awareness certainly isn't. Mindfulness, awareness, these are just human capacities. And various traditions have learned how to play with that and cultivate that in skillful ways. So, yeah, I've got a mix of influences because I've had a mix of teachers, but it is useful to have a kind of a sense of what it is you're practicing, so you're not just doing a million things, especially in the beginning. Sometimes I think of that like mixed martial arts. It's helpful to have a kind of a root discipline that you've cultivated. For some it's like wrestling or jujitsu or Muay Thai or boxing, and then after you have a base in one thing, then you can kind of train in other modalities and disciplines and stuff. So um, that can be helpful. Although now people are doing it lots of different ways, which is good too. Thank you. There's some fun questions. Have you done active meditation on a paddleboard? If so, what has been your experience? I did try a paddleboard years ago, and it was super fun. And I think if you do that, yeah, it's, very meditative. The balance aspect is super interesting. And because awareness is just functioning, once you're familiar with it, everything is a meditation. Paddleboard, walking around, conversations, everything's a meditation because everything's appearing through awareness. So, but the paddleboard is very interesting because it has all those balance elements, and anything that involves balance, you can really notice how, when your mind, whatever your mind does affects your balance. So that's interesting too. But I think paddleboarding looks really cool, and I did enjoy it a lot when I did it. If awareness of anxiety is not anxious, and it sounds like you've noticed that, then is awareness a way for me to experience myself without the self? Well, you should find out. I think that's a nice way to say it, and you're probably on to something, right? And whatever you mean by, self is an interesting thing. So it's like meaning your personality, all of what it makes up you doesn't need to go away. That's kind of, only ignorance goes away in relation to experience. So that's kind of important. So yes, and I'm not sure exactly where you're getting, but yeah, your sort of sense of meanness and your personality and your uniqueness and your weird, quirky self, which we all have, that doesn't go away. And that is selfless in its nature. And so you're onto something with this. Awareness can be aware. You can be aware of this. That's how who we are as on a relative level starts to become like not problematic, less problematic, because it's, it just is. That's again, but I hesitate to respond to kind of respond to things like that with things that sound like an answer, because that's much more interesting as a question. And you maybe, I don't know if you noticed that the awareness of anxiety is not anxious, but that's a real hint. That's a real clue. That's true with any state. The awareness of fatigue or tired or even sleeping mind is not asleep. And so see if anything is not in that category. See if there's anything that's not like that. What do you mean when you say awareness in the body? I'm just, how we've used language in these teachings affects the way we experience things. So often we use the language of awareness of the breathing or aware of the body. And that's actually perfectly fine language because the body appears in awareness. But there is also a subtle way where sometimes, or not subtle way, where sometimes people pop out of the body and kind of end up looking at it from some vantage point. And so when I say aware in the body, I'm just kind of encouraging you to let awareness suffuse the body or fill the body. That becomes a kind of like embodied awareness, but awareness isn't limited to the body, but it's sort of different qualitatively when you're aware in the body. That's why sometimes I say aware in sadness or in fear. I use of and in just to help you not always think there has to be a sense of being outside it. Sometimes you're aware in it, like you're aware in a fog. You'll be aware of the fog, but you're also in the fog. You don't see outside of it, and yet you're aware that it is fog. Same with confusion. You're aware in confusion or of confusion, in confusion. So just playing with language, I know from my own experience that how we use language with these teachings, it affects the way we experience it. So in the early text, in the text on the foundations of mindfulness, the best translation that I know of, the correct translation is something like aware of the body in the body. So it's or aware of the body in and of itself. So you're kind of like, it just gives that sense of aware with the breathing within the breathing, could be a way of saying it. It's like aware of the breathing in and of itself. So again, you just play with the language and see how it can be experienced differently. Aware of is perfectly fine, and aware in also helps us have another dimension of it. So that's very useful, especially with the body, because we tend to be so disembodied and disconnected from the body. Sometimes that carries over into the way we approach meditation. Somebody asked, how do you sign up for emails? If you go to the Sunday Sangha, I'll put it on the thing sometimes. Or maybe could somebody else post it in the chat, sundaysangha.net, then you can sign up for the email list there. What fixed the freezing on my computer? I had updated it to the new Apple Mac operating system, and then I didn't shut it down afterwards, so that's why it froze. Sometimes I don't have a half an hour in my day to practice. I try to sit for as much time as I can. Is less time worth it? Absolutely. Any amount of time is worth it. This is outside of time in a way, so it doesn't have to be a half an hour. You know, it's sort of like I would, sometimes I challenge that idea that there isn't half an hour, because but I don't know your life, right? So I don't want to presume. A lot of people say I don't have a half an hour, but they spend lots of time doing stuff that is, I would say, a complete waste of time comparatively. So that may not be true for you though. So it is not about the amount of time, but it's about the quality of engagement and the quality of interest. So if you meditated 5 minutes a day, and then you had like interested awareness and you were exploring your experience and observing and learning through the day, that'd be better than just like logging in a half an hour and then just going through your day. So it's not about the amount of time, but just like anything you practice is very true in martial arts and probably a lot of things. It's like sometimes people practice for years and years, but they're not interested. They're not actually interested in exploring it and learning. So much better to have a quality of engaged interest as you practice that than to just like, it's more about that than the amount of time. But as with anything, time in the territory does affect what you learn. Same with like learning a language, when you're immersed in the territory, you learn the language differently. It gets into you differently. When you are on the basketball court a lot, you just end up learning. Learning happens in ways you don't even understand. But if you only do it like a little bit, they won't learn as much, and there won't be as much development there. So yeah, but it's not about just logging the time. Much more about the engagement. Even 1 minute of formal practice, that's often the hardest part, is just get yourself to stop. But then keep the awareness through the day, or keep coming back to it. Are recordings of the Sunday sessions available for people in other time zones? Sometimes. Last week's, the recording didn't, I had all this internet trouble, and Zoom only recorded part of the time that when I wasn't really on. So some of the weeks they are, and some of them I haven't posted. And so, and some of them I don't post. But I post a lot of them, and you can find them on the YouTube channel. I think the YouTube channel's, yeah, anyway, if you look me up on YouTube, you'll find the YouTube channel. There's a lot of talks posted there. So that was lovely when you shared your son's meditation instructions. Is he meditating with us? Does he sit regularly? At what age do you think one should suggest or introduce someone to meditation? I have no idea. No, he doesn't meditate with us. But I always think with kids is that they pick it up from how we are. Um, you know, Teresa was saying that about table manners, is that I don't have great training around that, and so that's kind of, I got to work on that myself, because that absorbs into the kids pick that up. So um, not terrible, but not the greatest. So but I think with the meditation stuff, it's a little bit like that. Yeah, I was surprised he'd written those instructions, because we got a new keyboard for an iPad, and he said, look what I wrote. And they're good instructions, very brief, but good. So he's obviously picked it up, picked it up from coming and hear me teach sometimes. But no, I think with kids, very important not to try to get them to practice or do something good for them, because then they might really not like it, unless you're very skilled at that and you can make it playful and fun in a way that's actually playful and fun for them. There are lots of ways to talk to kids that evoke awareness and interest and learning and observing. I think that's actually much more, especially with smaller kids, more interesting. But I know, as somebody who grew up with a meditation teacher, of course, um, I was around my dad's teachers. I was around other teachers. I was around people practicing a lot. And I kind of, I'd say I got something from being around that. But I'm actually very grateful that he never tried to get me to practice, because I might have, I don't know. But again, you can find different ways. And as kids get older, you can talk to them much more directly. And when they, yeah, but I think mostly it's what you're doing that impacts, right? And what you're doing doesn't mean being a perfect person, right? It means, practicing with awareness and learning, and we can model that to some degree. Somebody missed his instructions. I don't have them here. I'll read them on Sunday. Maybe I'll try to read them again on Sunday. I don't want to just paraphrase. Maybe I'll do one more. Let's see. How to deal with intrusive thoughts, uncomfortable thoughts. The way to deal with anything intrusive that arises in the psyche is to not be too reactive around it. Because when you don't want something to be present in the mind, it has a way of really sticking around. So of course you can't get yourself to want it to be there, but that all those aspects of like welcoming, observing, recognizing that it's only a thought, that's a big deal. You can say thinking, or watching. But when you say like, I don't want to have this thought, and that's when it really starts to develop power. Sometimes people have intrusive thoughts. Oh, how could I think about that? That's, what kind of person am I if I think that? And that really sets up both a kind of a unnerving, unsettling situation in your psyche, right? Because people have all kinds of thoughts. But so to, of course, I don't know what the thought is. Sometime maybe we can dialogue, or on Sunday or something, can ask it in more detail. Because there are different kinds of thoughts. I'm not sure what's scaring you about that thought or uncomfortable about it. But so that's one aspect, is just, noticing and allowing it to be there. It's happened when people get songs stuck in their head, same thing. It's like, let it play, but they can be in the background, just let it be here, but don't let it, it doesn't have to take over everything. And sometimes a lot of the time, it's just that okayness with it that allows it to lose a lot of that charge, that really like hard charge that it has. So that's a principle of the psyche. Anything you really don't want to be happening has a way of becoming very tenacious. I don't know why it's like that, but it seems to be a rule, or almost like a law of the psyche. Okay, Thank you all. Nice to be with you. I'm glad we could do some some dialogue, and I look forward to sitting with you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.